Hello everyone, hi, this is me, Tai, your astrology journalist, because I break the news. Before the news happen, I use astrology to do this. I deal with relationships on this channel. Any type of relationship is my business. And when it comes to, I'm re-recording because I just wanted to warn you in terms of audio that you're going to hear. I changed my mic. This is the second time I'm changing my mic, and it is sounding a bit, like I'm in the hallway, and so I'm just giving a warning. And at the same time, I just want to give a summary of what I'm talking about in terms of the synastry of Blake Lively and Ezra Hudson, because this is the main topic. And in terms of the predictions, it doesn't really matter. It is you don't have to listen to the end part where I'm making the global predictions, because it's only for my logging. I'm just logging the work on the channel. But in terms of the Blake Lively and the Ezra Hudson synastry, it is important, in terms of what I was saying. I'm saying that Ezra Hudson places her Chiron in the 9th house of Blake Lively, the same way that we saw previously with Justin Baldoni and Brian Friedman. And I also spoke about how Blake Lively has Rahu in her 9th house, which is basically making these controversies around this case and the judge be so big. Because remember, I'm reminding you on this audio that the 9th house is the seat of the judge, and therefore having her Rahu here, Rahu is about controversy, is about taboo things, is about being a magician, changing yourself into something else. And also Rahu is about fraud, is about scamming, is about all of these things, right? And so I'm explaining that, and I'm explaining this part for you to better understand why there is a whole lot of controversy in terms of Judge Lyman and Blake Lively. And at the same time, I spoke about the cluster that she has in her 2nd house, because she's a Cancer ascendant. And I reminded you that I'm using this side real. I also spoke about the Leo placements from Ezra Hudson's chart, because she's got Mercury, Ketu, and Lilith. Basically, in a nutshell, these are indicating that Blake Lively is going to lose quite a lot of money from being associated with Ezra's Ketu, because Ezra places her Ketu with Blake Lively's Venus, Sun, Mars, Moon, and Mercury, and they are all in her 2nd house of bank, finance, family. And being associated with Ezra, she is going to lose these things because of this association. So I did a bit of a caution for her. She's going to lose not just money, even like the feeling of family, the feeling of values, the feeling of just, her pride as well. Because remember, when we talk about Sun, we talk about our pride, we talk about our branding. And so Ketu is a distancer. It will distance her from these things as long as she is associated with Ezra Hudson. And remember, and I do remind you, I spoke about seeing quite a lot of Lilith in terms of Blake Lively, and I found the Lilith in Ezra's chart. because she also overlays that with her cluster, with Blake Lively's cluster. And so, what else did I talk about? I also spoke about Ezra's personality, how she's a diplomat, and how in her profession she's a very decisive individual. And then I explained it in how it matches Blake Lively. Then I closed this part by giving Blake Lively, other cautions, because remember, I had recently just cautioned her in terms of the dates of the 12th until the 15th, because I had made that prediction on the 8th, and I posted it on the 9th of August, and I warned her that between the 12th and the 15th she would have a sense of losing, or a sense of having lost something regarding to this case. And indeed, on the 12th of August, Judge Lineman gave that order, which required her to refile and remove everybody's telephone numbers and email addresses. And I spoke about how much she would be under duress, at this time, lots of pressure, lots of boom, boom, boom in terms of her way. And of course, as I predicted, it happened. And I reminded you that it was me who broke this. It was me who broke this case, because in January, on the 6th, I made predictions and I told you guys that Justin Baldoni would be suing Blake Lively and her husband. And at this time, nobody knew and nobody said anything about Justin Baldoni planning this. The media didn't know, Blake Lively didn't know, Ryan Reynolds didn't know, and maybe even Brian Friedman didn't know, right? But I mean, in terms of the timing, because then on the 16th, this is when Brian Friedman made that announcement, so which would have been 10 days after I had made my prediction. But logistically and practically, he would have known at this time. But of course, nobody knew. He had not made the announcement or the filing or anything, so there was no way I could have known humanly, like on a human form. So yeah, and then do enjoy, and thank you so much for the support. And I apologize for this noise or this sensation in your listening, and I promise you this is the last time I would use this mic. This is the second time I'm changing the mic. The first one, I tried it with the Justin Baldoni part, and I also didn't like that mic. And then I went on and I bought another one, and I don't like it. So I'm going back to my original mic, and I don't even know why. I wanted to be fancy. I should not be fancy. I know this, with my get-do, I should keep things as simple as possible. Because when I start to be too much fancy or wanting to be too fancy, then get-do is going to humble me. Right. And I also, that part of Venus that you're going to see on the timestamps, I was asking you guys to protect your relationships, to protect what you value so much. You must protect it at this time, particularly on the 16th and the 17th, because on the 18th and the 19th, these are going to be critical days. So I was explaining to you in terms of astrology why I'm saying these things. And yeah, and then when it comes to the predictions, it doesn't really matter. It's just for my personal looking, in terms of looking my work. And thank you. I'll chat to you soon. Enjoy. And today we are also looking at another relationship and this one is between Blake Lively and her legal advisor, Ezra Hudson, her attorney. Now, Blake Lively. Oh, and of course, I must explain why I, want to do this. It's not about the cloud, since everybody's talking about it. Everybody's, pushing the Blake Lively story. It is not that. It is because I broke the story. I must remind everyone that I broke the story. I predicted what was going to happen before it even happened, before even the parties that were involved in it, that are involved in it, knew about it. I knew before everybody else. And of course, I didn't talk about it for a very long time thereafter, because I already know how it ends. But I'm coming back to it because of my frustration from the legal point of view, from both parties. So, and then my curiosity was triggered again to see the relationships that they have, the clients and their attorneys at this point. So Blake is the client and Ezra Hudson is the attorney here. Now, looking at their charts, first of all, I must say that I don't have the birth time of Ezra Hudson, and I hope that this is the correct chart for her, born 12th of August 1970, and I stand to be corrected. Of course, always happy to be corrected. And with that said, what I must also say is that everything is alleged that I'm going to say here and that I've already said from the beginning until the end. Everything is alleged. This is astrology. It is speculation. So, Blake Lively, born 25th August 1987. Right. Just recently, I made predictions again pertaining to Blake. And it was like short paced predictions, because I made a video, I think it was on the 8th or the 9th of August, and then I predicted that between the 12th and the 15th, Blake, which would be like 4 days after, Blake would be having a whole lot of pressure. I was sending out caution, for her, because I could see it in her chart. And particularly from the legal point of view, I was seeing a whole lot of challenges coming her way. And as a result, I also said there would be a feeling or this sense of loss in terms of her legal position. And, like I said, on the 12th. And then there was that judgment, or not judgment, sorry, order by Judge Lyman pertaining to how she has to refile, stuff and hide people's phone numbers, email addresses, So I saw that. I saw it in the chart, and these things happen. So when I compare these two charts of these ladies, Blake here has a very strong chart. And remember last time, it was like just a week ago, now a few days ago, right? I talked about how I was seeing an influence of Lilith in her chart. High influence of Lilith in her chart, and pertaining to this legal case. I said that it could be also because of her, and I was speculating that maybe she could be the one giving advices, and the attorneys, they just take it and go, because most of the time some attorneys don't challenge their client because paying and stuff like that.
I have my tea, so I have to regulate my voice. Yeah, some attorneys don't necessarily care to be stern and to say, no, this is the right way. They just say, okay, the client is right, the client wants this, okay, let's give what the client wants, regardless of what will happen to them in the end. Sorry, tea, I have to regulate the voice. Anyway, when I compare the charts of these two ladies, I must say that Blake's chart is very strong. It's coming up very, very strong, and it's overpowering the voice of the attorney, the advisor of the attorney, the advice of the attorney. Her chart is giving a strong control over Ezra's chart. And you know, a lot of people have been talking about Esra Hudson being you know, not a good character person, right? And for me, I was just literally just annoyed with her recent strategy, you know, when it comes to the content creators. And she did file a letter and recently, whereby she explained why. So basically, she just detailed why she went after certain content creators, and with that letter, then it gave me a more idea of why she would choose such a strategy that is, you know, it seemed a bit chaotic. So in that letter, she explained that, you know, that she had information pertaining to these people, you know, and all of that, right? But anyway, when I look at her profile, she is a person that is again, everything's allegedly said, speculation, astrology. She's far from the personality that is being shown through her actions in this case. She's a literal opposite, actually, according to her chart, because according to her chart, she's a person who is a diplomat. That's how I can nicely describe her in one word. She's a diplomat. She's not a combative person. That is not how her chart is. That is not how she is, and even in terms of strategies, because we have to keep, you know, context. No. She's actually a diplomat, but she is always ready for confrontation, for sure. I mean, every attorney, every lawyer is ready for confrontation. That's why they went to law school, right? That's why we go to law school. That's why we went to law school, because we just have, you know, that chart that makes you ready to confront and be confronted. And so she's got that chart. And so what I do see here, okay, so I'm going to break it down according to the chart of Blake, so that it can fit the aspects that I want to look at from her angle, from her chart, right? Because remember, Blake is a Cancer ascendant. You remember that, right? And what is meaning, or what is indicating here as a Cancer ascendant is that definitely she's got a stellium in her second house, right, of Leo. I remember I'm always using a sidereal when it comes to my ascendant. So she's a Cancer ascendant in the sidereal, and she's got a stellium of Leo in the second house of speech and face, and and her stellium is very strong. She's got Mars, she's got Sun, she's got Venus, Mercury, and the Moon. Basically, her whole chart, out of the basic 7 planets, she's got 5 of them in her Leo, and in her second house of speech, of her face, of her her money, family background. And what is saying here is that her mouth, her speech, like what she says with her mouth, is highly controlled by Mars, because Mars is tightly conjunct with Sun and Venus. However, it is still at the lower degree in terms of the placement. So meaning that her speech is controlled by Mars, and Mars is an energetic planet. It is a planet of power, it is a planet of action, planet of combat, planet of being sure, of what you're doing. Well, just a planet of just coming out for you. All right, so it means that most of the time, if her speech, what she says, will always, almost always come off as rubbing just people the wrong way, and sounding a bit sarcastic, a bit defensive, all of these things, because of Mars. Because remember, when Mars is in the second house, it automatically spoils their second house. Why? Because remember, Mars is in the second house, originally owned by who? By Venus. What is the relationship between Mars and Venus? Mars does not enjoy Venus, so meaning that in her house, Mars is feeling extremely agitated. He is ready to burst out, and Mars is not taking Mars is not taking anything from anyone. All right, so, and it also indicates, by the way, that she is a big spender, right? Because Mars in the second house will spend the money. But you know what's beautiful? What makes it beautiful? Let me take a break. Back. So what is beautiful here is that this Mars, it is also with Venus, the original owner of the second house, and also with Sun, the owner of this house in terms of her chart, Leo. So here you have ownership from these planets, Venus in terms of their traditional placements, and then Sun in terms of her chart. And so she's a confident person, highly confident person. She's confident she's got this view that when she enters the room, everybody will look, and she does command the attention in the room naturally. Just her coming in, literally everybody is going to be like, oh my gosh, Blake just got in. Yeah, she's just entered. Yeah, there's Blake, right? Because she's got the presence, the big presence that is afforded to her by her stellium. Literally, the attention just goes to her face, and and on top of that, she's got Moon as well. Moon gets exalted in the second house, or Taurus, and Moon being here It also makes her beautiful, obviously, giving her the softer edges. But of course, because Mars is in the lower degree, she's got, the harder edges as well, in terms of her look. So she's literally has everything in terms of being confident in what she says, because also Mercury is here. So this is why a lot of times she's been said that, she's sarcastic, and she also has said, I think in one of the interviews, that she enjoys being sarcastic, making jokes, and all of these things. It is true. It is true. It is because her chart is having all of these planets just fighting, and because remember, Mercury and Mars, they don't get along. So definitely, even in her own personality, she could be like having, debates in her head about what she said, did she say it right? Like, she could be like analyzing herself. Did I say it right? What did I say? Was it okay what I said? And it would come. This is the thing. When she talks, she's not thinking. She thinks after she has already spoken. Why? Because Mars is action first, thoughts later. Action first, thoughts later. So you're now, when it comes to, because we have to look at the ninth house, this is what we're dealing with here. We want to see in this whole relationship in terms of her and Judge Lyman. And actually, I should make another synastry between Blake Lively and Judge Lyman and see all these speculations that are being thrown around. That's going to be very interesting. So I want you to see that actually. Anyway, she's got Rahu in her ninth house. So she's got Rahu in her ninth house, which is, which definitely just explains what is happening. We don't even need anything. We don't need to be smart. We don't need, to be experts. No, just Rahu in her ninth house. We say, oh, now we get it. Why? What is a Rahu? Rahu is controversies. I will explain everything, of course, in my course that is starting next week. And I have made some changes in terms of the audience. I have even toned it down or streamed it down to a very specific niche when it comes to my class. I am wanting to have, I would say, a very highly skilled niche, and these people are the people that obviously will be able to, be making big changes in this field, because I will be making sure that the techniques that I'm giving you guys are making you to never want to be my clients again, because you can do the work by yourself. And number two, I'm making you to be very strong in terms of starting your own professional services when it comes to astrology. So I am going to make you my best competitors from what I'm going to give you. So that has changed, and because that has changed, so I've added rather lots of techniques that I was not intending to add for this level 1, the master Synastry master level 1, because remember, in the level 2 I will be giving you now even the big techniques of whereby you will be literally looking at the chart and being able to tell somebody what is going to happen tomorrow to them. But then the level 2 is going to be by invitation only. That's how it's going to be. It's going to be by invitation only. So, and it's going to be the people who are going to join the level 1. So by level 1, please remember, I am not doing foundational course. I'm not talking about the basics. I'm expecting you to already be practicing or knowing, your synastry. So because I will be releasing a bunch of highly skilled individuals, professionals, right? And remember, do you know why this is happening? It is because I'm a Gemini, right, ascendant, and Jupiter is on me. So now the professors have come to the student, right? And this is why 98% of my class is highly skilled professionals already, who know their astrology, and they're just coming to see what more they can get in terms of technique. So it is not by chance, it is by design. You are the professional, you are the teacher, but you have come to the student now because Jupiter is in Gemini. So you are not making a mistake. It is all by design. So back to here, Rahu in the 9th house, it is going to bring controversies in terms of the court processes, like the higher courts, the legislation, the policy, the law. And I remember, I'm keeping it in our context for now. So I'm not talking about her life and everything. I'm just keeping it to the context of today. And why? Because remember, like I explained last time, when we talk about the 9th house, we're talking about the seat of the judge. Where is the judge sitting? He's sitting in the 9th house. This is where, the bigger laws are dealt with, not the basic litigations that are happening in the 6th house, the daily things, because 6th house is about daily routines, daily things that are happening. So you have your litigations, your small claims court thing is happening there. And when it comes to the judge himself or herself, she's sitting in the 9th house, whereby she is analyzing the higher laws. All the attorneys, they are there in the 6th house, but the judge himself, he is in the 9th house. So the attorneys, they come from the 6th house and they go and stand in front of the 9th house. And of course, there are hundreds of controversies that are already happening, when it comes to Blake Lively and Judge Lyman. It is not a mistake. It is designed. It is meant to be. It is written before they were even born, because she's got that Rahu there, and it is in Pisces. Now, when we talk about Pisces sign, we must always remember, we talk about duality, right? There is always going to be duality. So that would be also like Gemini, which I don't want to focus on because I really want to keep the context here. So when it comes to here, we're going to get opposing all the time, opposing views, opposing processes, opposing procedures. The judge himself or herself is going to even oppose himself here because of the Pisces energy. And this is why we've been seeing a whole lot of these controversial moves that Judge Lyman has been making here. Number 2, it also indicates to us that there will be a whole lot of unclear processes. You know, I don't want to say shady, because then I'm gonna be feeding off, you know, to the controversy, which I don't want to do, because when I do my analysis, I always like to be objective, just focus on the chart. But Rahu in astrology, it means controversy, it means magic, it means shady things, it means scamming, it means fraud, it means you know, presenting yourself in the form that you're not. You know, so it's a lot of these controversies, taboo things, you know. And but be careful not to feed off into the actual controversies, but I'm just explaining it from an astrological point of view. So this is why we're getting all of these things, because she's got this Rahu highly being activated here into feeding this Pisces energy and the Rahu, but in terms of the legislation, policy, and the judge, because this is the seat of the judge. You know, this is why I also love astrology so much, because we get to be lenient with people and how they behave, you know, because we get to understand why things are happening and, you know, how are they happening. And then when we do, then we become less judgmental, because we have an understanding, you know, a deeper understanding of why things are happening, right? So this is why it's always important to have your chart done, so that you can have closure and move on from, you know, past hurts. Because once you move on, I mean, once you get closure, you get to heal, and because you understand, you're like, okay, now I understand, so I can move on with my life. So, you know, now that we understand why there are a lot of, you know, these things between her and Judge Lyman from her chart, we can, you know, have that moment, you know, and not be caught up, you know, into the system of judging and throwing tomatoes and all of that, right? Because we understand. But of course, we humans, we're going to have our moments of frustration, right? Like for me, I'm just frustrated with the legal parts when it comes to these attorneys from both sides. Brian Friedman, Ezra Hudson, right? Even though I'm seeing the charts. Now, back to Ezra Hudson, what is happening with her is that she is placing her Chiron in Blake's 9th house. Similarly, how Brian Friedman placed his Chiron in Justin Baldoni's 9th house, again hurting them. The moves, their strategies, they are hurting the case basically of their clients. Same thing with Ezra as it was with Brian Friedman. And when it comes to Ezra's Chiron, I do see here that, you know, the problem is that she's fluid. As I said, she's a diplomat. She's a diplomat. What it means is that she molds herself according to what the client wants or what the client thinks is correct, and then she will mold her strategy to fit or to satisfy the client. So it doesn't show here, you know, the energy of, you know, being stern to say, when it comes to this Chiron, to say, no, I am not going to do this, Blake. This is not good for you. It's going to hurt you. I'm not going to do this. No, just no. So it's showing a personality that say, oh, okay, Blake, you want to have this done. Let me see how I can do it, because she's a diplomat. You know, she's going to try to find ways to solve the issue, so that the client is happy, so she's going to mold herself, mold her strategy. But by doing so, it ends up hurting Blake, because this is Chiron that we're talking about. And so, that's one thing. And another thing, when it comes to Ezra's chart, is that Saturn here, because she's got debilitated Saturn in Aries, right? And what I can see here is that obviously she's decisive, she's direct, she can be controlling in terms of her profession and her views, in terms of profession, status as well, right? But at the same time, she's very sharp, she's very cutting, in terms of her persona, like how she's seen publicly because of the public status. She's seen in her job or through her job certain as cutting, right? And she takes that, debilitation personality, and she places it on the 10th house of Blake Lively, on her profession, her image in terms of public, and her work, which is not necessarily a perfect thing for Cancer ascendant, because remember, Cancer ascendant is ruled by who? By Moon, and Moon and Saturn don't have a good relationship. Saturn doesn't have a good relationship with Moon, and so now Ezra is bringing that Saturn onto the 10th house and the public image of Blake Lively. And now, through her profession, Ezra, through her strategies, Ezra, through her decisive, direct, cutting, control, in terms of the placement or the presentation of that strategies professionally, it brings a negative vibe or a negative public image for Blake Lively. And on top of that, Blake Lively has got Jupiter, which is okay for a Cancer ascendant. However, it is a retrograde, right? So when we already know about retrograde planets, how they behave, and you add that, of course, you're going to get, this big thing. But this big thing is increased by the current transit of Chiron in her 10th house. Blake, she's having her Chiron, the transiting Chiron in her 10th house, wounding her public image, wounding her profession, wounding partout. What are we going to do with these charts? There's so much wounding that is being brought by Chiron, and it was the same thing with Brian Friedman and Justin Baldoni. Ooh la la. So let's just stop here, or let me make one final comment when it comes to Ezra. She's got Mercury, Ketu, and Lilith in her Leo sign. This is a problem. This is a problem for Blake Lively. Blake Lively, this is a problem for you. Ezra Hudson's chart is a problem for you. Listen to me carefully. Ezra Hudson has Mercury conjunct with your Mercury. This is why you could feel like you can understand each other, you can discuss things, together. But remember what I said last time. I said I was seeing a Lilith advising you. I was seeing somebody who's advising you in terms of what you do. Remember, And now I'm looking at her chart. I can see she's got Lilith in her Leo. That means this Lilith for you is about speech. So it's about your communication, things that she said. And when we talk about Lilith, we are talking about tainted things whereby things are a bit out of the norm, things are not really acceptable, when it comes to what is being spoken about. And on top of this, it also goes to your second house of money, of wealth. But it is not only coming with, it is not alone, it is coming with Ketu. Whoa. I don't like this, Blake. I must just tell you, I don't like this Ketu from Ezra in your second house. Because do you know what it means? It's just confirming that you're going to lose a whole lot of money. A whole lot of money. And you're not just going to lose it because, you are paying for attorney's fees. You're going to lose it because it is going to be spent in a way that later on you're not going to understand. When you do an analysis, like later on down the line, let's say in 2 years' time, you're going to look back and be like, what the actual heck? Why did I pay so much money? For that, for this, for that. Why did I pay so much money? This is what's going to happen. Right now, you may not see it because the confusion of Ketu, right? When we talk about Ketu, we are talking about confusion. It is not making you see things that you're supposed to see because your cluster, your whole personality, literally your whole personality is being covered and is being impacted by her Ketu, meaning that, oh my gosh, whatever she says to you, it can be so convincing right now because it's going to be gelling with your Mercury. But after some time, I say after 2 years, I will in part 2, I will be sure, I will calculate properly. But right now I'm just doing part 1, so I haven't done a deep calculation. So I will calculate properly and I will tell you when you're going to wake up, and be like, oh my gosh, what just happened to me? So I do see that. And I don't want to make this long. Oh my gosh. And I see that I'm almost into an hour. Almost. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to be so quick. This is part 1. I'm going to do part 2. Part 2, I'm going to give you details of when things will happen to you in terms of this legal thing. But for now, to stop, let me just say this. It's a caution for November. The cautions is going to start, actually I would just say start being aware for October. So I would say around let's say from the 16th of October. We can say from the 16th of October until 30th of October, 30th of October, 1st November. So this period here is not going to be good for you. It's going to be tough, particularly around the 26th of October. I would say exactly on the 26th of October. It doesn't look okay. It's not a good time. So what I do expect here, what would be happening here is you would be experiencing a judgment, that is critical judgment. I should not just try to think about words. So I also do see that you could It's like, when you take a risk, and you're so sure, and you take a risk because you think something is going to be huge in terms of return, and it turns out it's actually the opposite. It would be something like that, whereby possibly you could also even lose an authority figure, at this time, or somebody who guides you, like somebody who's really close to you and who gives you guidance at this time. And I also do see that there could be instability. So there could be instability in terms of what makes you feel protected, what makes you feel guided, what makes you feel comfortable, just sane, And again, around November, I would say around let's say around 19th, let's say 19th, 19th, 20th November until 20th of December. So like a month at this time. So yeah, like at this time also, some complications, and it could also affect what you assume to be very dear to you, and it could affect your projects as well, yours, anything that you create with your body or with your hands or with your mind at this time, that could be disturbed, so I'm just gonna tone it down. And I'm just going to give an example of maybe your business, because you have several businesses, right? And then at this time you feel like, oh my gosh, okay, I have to give up on this business, or I'm losing this business, something like that. And stress as well, regarding family, that could be there as well. I do see just loss of balance, like whereby you feel like you're losing your balance, you're losing movement, you're losing direction. You're not seeing what's coming ahead, Yeah, so these are tough periods that I'm seeing of your chart, from your chart. And I'll catch you on the next part. I would have calculated even further. Whoa, okay, so this is it for now. And thanks to everybody who's joining. And now I'm going to go to my predictions, and of course I know not everybody likes this part, so thank you so much. I'll catch you on the next one. And for those who are continuing for their global geopolitical synastry, and because whatever is happening in the world and the relationships between our presidents and countries, it also affects our relationships in our personal lives. So let's go there now. So in terms of the geopolitical synastry, I'm going to be focusing on the 16th until the 19th. All right, but then before I do that, I just want to talk about Venus and what will be happening in terms of our personal relationships, right? Before we go to the global relationships. So remember that Venus is still conjunct with Jupiter in Gemini, and it is almost coming out. So this is going to be coming out out of the Gemini sign on the 19th and going into Cancer, right? So then it's going to leave Jupiter to be alone in Gemini. Now, for this period from the 16th until the 19th, I would definitely, advise, a lot of people to focus on partnerships, like your partnerships. If you want to start a partnership, make sure, at this time that you also protecting yourself, you're also protecting your resources at this time. Because remember what I said in my previous video is that Sun will be going into Leo, and it was finalizing the domestic parts. Venus is going to go into Cancer and is going to focus on the domestic parts that Sun has already placed into order. So you're going to definitely make sure you protect not just yourself, but the relationship itself. Do what you can to protect it from, intrusions or from power plays or from blaming each other, all these things, because these are the dynamics that we're going to experience once Venus passes into Cancer. So a lot of people would I tell you that Venus is wonderful in Cancer, which it is wonderful in Cancer, but what is being problematic, okay, maybe I will explain it when we get to the Cancer part, like next in a couple of days, when I do the Venus part, when it would have gone into Cancer. I'm going to explain why Venus will be problematic in being Cancer. This time, it's not always like this, but this time around, it's not going to be roses and beautiful petals and diamonds and music and la 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 la, right? No. So I'm giving you the tips now. Protect, protect, protect. This is your word that you're going to deal with. Protect. Protect the relationship, protect your spouse, protect yourself, protect your resources, protect your domestic harmony. Right. So this is what I can just say. Start doing that now, particularly on the 16th and the 17th. You start doing it right now, because then on the 18th and the 19th, we're going to start to feel what I'm talking about, right? And again, remember, it always depends on the chart. It's a chart to chart basis. Maybe in your chart, you already have what I'm going to caution about, so you are used to it. It's familiar to you, so you're like, what is this? Nothing, right? So that's it. Now let's move on to the next segment. Okay, so today, the date, it is the 14th. It is the 14th, and it's the 14th of August today, and it's almost midnight per usual. And this is me, Tiger Astrology Journalist, because I break the news before the news happen, right? So I must tell you what is going to be on the news. Now, on the 16th, so basically from the 16th until the 19th, and it could start from the 15th as well, so, but particularly on the 16th, it could start on the 15th, so let's say late 15th until the 16th. Remember what is happening today on the 16th. It is, Sun entering the Leo sign. And I've been telling you it's going to enter the Leo sign. And I've been indicating how it's going to feel. It's going to feel happy to be at home, to be on the throne. But then remember, It is not alone in this castle. It is not alone on this throne. There is here an ancient king that does not need a crown. There is Ketu here, and Ketu is like, you know what, son, I understand you're the king, but I am there, you know, the humbler of kings. I'm the one who comes and humbles all these kings. So for me, your crown means nothing. Your throne means nothing. To me, your kingship status means nothing. You hear me? You can be big and, you know, be celebrated by everyone, but for me, you're just like everybody else. So what does this mean in terms of our life, like our real life? Is that a lot of celebrities, a lot of government bodies, a lot of leaders at this time, they're gonna be under pressure. It's not everyone. It's these archetypes. It's these people with these statuses, with these positions, with these personas, big personalities that are going to be humbled this time around, because they come in and there's already somebody sitting on the throne saying, oh, this is a throne. Oopsie, I didn't realize it's a throne, because to me, it's just another chair. Oh, is this your crown? Oopsie, I didn't realize, because to me, it just looks like a piece of a hat. So definitely we're going to have scandals. We're going to see a whole lot of scandals being exposed. These celebrities are going to expose. These leaders are going to be exposed. YouTubers are going to be exposed. Many people who are in the public space are going to be exposed, right? And remember, when these things happen, when these humiliations happen, they don't happen just because it's fun, or just because, wow, you know, people must laugh, ha 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 ha. No, it's always about teaching the people to appreciate their positions in life and to use them for the greater good. Because then if you don't, then, you know, that kid is going to show you that actually, you know, you are just a human being like everybody else. So on the 16th, we're going to definitely have a feeling or a sensation of rebirth. This is going to be about, you know, using your charm to get ready for a new appearance, or a new image, or a new presentation of who you are, of what you stand for, of where you're going, your direction. Because remember, when we talk about sun, we talk about direction. How is it important in terms of you know, the atmosphere this day? It is because there would be a sensation of wanting to also commit. Because remember, when we talk about Leo, we're talking about tradition here. We are talking about tradition, doing things the traditional way. We're talking about making babies. Remember what I said last time? I said a lot of people are going to feel like they want to be creative, they want to make babies, they want to do all of these things, right? Because Leo is coming to here. So there's going to be that feeling of, let's go back to how things were. Get to past. Let's go back to how things were. Let's do things how our ancestors did them, And for those who don't, this is where you see this humiliation, where you see the scandals, where you see these things, because you're not aligning with the shots. So if you're choosing to go your own way, then this is where the humbling comes in, right? So I do see some people, at this time, in terms of the atmosphere, like feeling and everything, right? Having the need to be in control. Because remember, Sun in Leo is in control, is feeling confident, wants to be in control, wants to be giving orders and all of these things, just to rule, right? So a lot of people are going to want to be in control of their relationships, of intimacies, of kids, young people. And it is highly possible also that there could be a movement that is being started right now, and it's going to be a movement that is towards an announcement. So they're going to announce it, of course. If it's going to be, if I'm talking about it, I see it in the planets are going to talk about it. So it's going to be an announcement about a plan. They are a plan that the government is working on. They're going to approach it. They're going to be focusing on that, and so France could also make an announcement today, and President Donald Trump is going to make an announcement today. So it's going to be related to a plan or planning, regarding to future. So future, something that will be done in the future at this time. I also do see this day, when it comes to when it comes to, maybe, let's say, President Donald Trump, maybe he's got I don't know, because always, he loves his hair, or so maybe he changes his hairstyle, or maybe there's too much wind, and the hair is moved to another direction, or maybe it covers his forehead or something like that. Is some sort of something that is just disturbing his head area, or maybe maybe he could even talk about it, because he's very open in terms of his speech. So I see that. I also do see that obviously, definitely, here there is a vigilance that needs to be in place. There's protection, as I said, protect, because remember, when Sun is at 0 degrees, it still has all of that energy of Cancer, protection, all about protection. So it's still new in terms of the sign of Leo. So here, the theme of wanting to protect, wanting to protect what you have, definitely. But then for the protection part and the defense part, it's coming for Iran, definitely Iran at this time, and they're getting ready for conflict. That's what I see. So when it comes to Iran, they are getting ready for conflict, and they're going to face it head on. They are ready, they're very vigilant. They are 100% vigilant against any danger that may come, and they are being proactive. And also on the 17th, I just see them being ready, like these guys are not playing. They're not playing. They're not making jokes. They're not here for gigi, ha ha ha. No, they want to preserve what they own, what they have, what they value the most, and they're going to use every tactic and strategy to protect themselves and their land and their beliefs and their belief system. So they're very proactive today. And on the 17th, I'm saying today as if obviously on that day, because today obviously is the 14th. So they're going to be very proactive, and as I said, it could start early on in the night of the 15th. Now I also do see there are countries that will be signing on this day. There are countries that will sign an agreement. So it could be an agreement pertaining to services in terms of maybe communication, or in terms of it could be in terms of skill, whereby maybe they are agreeing to land the skill, from one country to another country. So it could also be a skill or training, even training. Maybe they agree to train. So communication, training, all of these things. And I do see for this part, for these types of contract or types of agreements being signed, mostly Russia being involved on this time on the 16th for this one. I do see Russia, and I also do see that it would also be between foreign countries. So obviously it's not only Russia. I'm just mentioning Russia because it's one of the ascendants that I know of by heart. I also do see that whatever they're going to, the agreement that they're going to be signing, or they're going to be announcing, or they're going to be taking measures towards, is going to be very serious, and it's going to be one that is going to be upheld for a very long time. It's and there's a sense of there is a sense of judging. It's either judging what the contract itself, or the agreement itself, or other people that it could impact, or other people are criticizing it, like the media, for example. Maybe they criticizing it. There's some words being said in terms of criticizing this. I also do see advice. Also diplomatic advice being given as well. Okay, so I'm not getting enough information, so I'm just going to skip this, but I'm not getting enough information. I'm not channeling enough information in terms of the advice, who is going to come from. Okay, I'm blocked. But I also do see, okay, let me take a break. I'm so blocked. Let me take a break. Okay, so there is a plan that is being covered but protected, right? It's being protected, and it's being protected by people who are generally liked, or by countries who are generally liked. They know about what's going to happen and they protect it. And so they're playing as guardians of whatever contract is going to be signed today, is going to be agreed on. They are, covering it, or giving it a blessing, or, being the guides. So that's what I'm seeing. I also do see, when it comes to the 17th, so 16th and 17th, I also do see, those two countries that I talked about last time, that I was seeing as planning and skimming and, coming up. So they are about to finally show what they've been planting all this time, and the results are highly going to show on the 18th and the 19th. All right, so I do see that. I also do see that on the 16th, 17th, so there is a need, to be reactive, right? And the reaction part is going to come from Israel. Israel feels like it has to react to something, but at the same time, also India, Pakistan, they feel like they have to react. So today is about reacting to something. So it would have been maybe something said or something done, and they feel like the need of, sending out a message or reacting in terms of physical action here. So I do see that. I also do see, of course, some pride, when it comes, because Sun again is in the Leo. So I do see pride here. But as I said, we're expecting fallen personalities, fallen peasants, fallen leaders, and it could be also in terms of, scandal, or just physicality, right? Now I also do see that when it comes to some countries or some presidents, even like for example, President Trump underestimating something. So they could be like underestimating what is going to happen, underestimating retaliation, underestimating some people or some countries, right? And or even maybe the way that they should implement the strategy. All right, so I do see an underestimation of that happening. And at the same time, I do see that there is a how NATO is like a cluster of countries, and there's like BRICS as well. So there's NATO, there's BRICS, there's the European Union. So I see some communication regarding to this cluster of countries, and it's going to highly possibly be BRICS, right? But then it could be NATO, as I said, or it could be the European Union, or whereby they are engaging in something, so they're agreeing on what to do on the next step here. So I do see this between the 16th and the 17th. And what I also do see, unfortunately, is that at this time, whatever partnership is being done, there's going to be a lingering story behind it. So there's going to be some face value whereby other countries, they feel they have to agree or sign, but they don't necessarily support that motion or that notion, whatever it is. They don't support it, right? Oh, hold on. It's actually, it could be NATO. It could be NATO, or it could be the European Union, because it's actually involving it's actually involving Russia. So whatever they're going to say, it's going to be involving Russia. It's going to be about Russia, and there are countries that don't agree, but because of the unionship, they feel like they have to sign in. And okay, that was like a bulb that just came over my head. And I also do see, okay, on the 18th, so 18th and the 19th, these 2 days become quite active and very critical. And what I do see now, there could also be riots, like mob violence, riots, protests coming up on the 18th. So obviously it could start late 17th, on the 17th, like later day. But then the 18th, I see a whole lot. 18th and 19th, I see a lot of aggression. Actually, there's a lot of aggression. There's a lot of contempt. There's a lot of instability, accidents. I do, particularly the 18th for accidents. I do see some accidents, and I also do see just instability. And it could involve Iran. Okay, not involved, but like Iran could be indicated in one of these things, or maybe aggression, or some violence, right? But then in terms of other countries, riots, possible accidents, possible whereby there is an accident by boat, or maybe you're just like an abnormal violence, maybe against cars. You know how when there's riots and people start burning cars and stuff like that, right? So I do see that. I also do see that. Whoa. Wow, okay. I also do see India being active again, so India is definitely active 16th and 17th, but even on the 18th, I do see some activity coming from India at this time. I also do see, that there could be some news regarding to the airplane, what is it called, the company, Virgin something. Oh my gosh, what's this company? Well, I will paste the picture. I will Google after, like that the Virgin Airlines or something like that. So there could be some news regarding to them at this time on the 18th. Or maybe if it's not them, it is another airline company. All right, so we could hear about this. And at the same time, I do see it's like Russia on this day, they don't want any problem. They just want diplomacy. They want to agree, let's get into agreement, let's negotiate today, let's talk about stuff. But of course, if you don't, we're ready for the alternative, but we want to talk. We just want, calm. Right, so I do see that. I also do see on the 18th and the 19th that there could be a sense of loss. So it could be loss of leader. It could be a loss of a leader at this time, or if it's, I mean, we never want, the big losses whereby we lose the person altogether, but there's a sense of loss. Maybe they lose their position or they resign. That's what at least we could have. We don't want to think of the worst, right? So I do see that. And I also do see that there could be some inflexibility at this time. So as I said, the 18th and the 19th, a lot of people, they just are agitated. So of course, when it comes to such agitations, it's also including, the people wanting to not be controlled, or refusing to be controlled, or refusing to feel like, there's governance over them, right? So I also do see some news regarding the supreme leader of Iran, or the presidency. They are like, leaders regarding to them at this time. Definitely always President Trump, some news definitely there. And yeah, I actually see some hidden conflict as well. Yeah, Iran is just and as I said, I'm going to explain why. They've been on the news. There is definitely an astrological explanation, and soon I will give an explanation regarding to this. Now, when it comes to other people or other countries, or even these countries that I've spoken about, I do see some bad news, like sad news, whereby a lot of people will be feeling sad, will be feeling like, oh my gosh, what's happened? We can't believe this happened, or what is happening to this world, or what brutality is this, right? So, some grieving, I do see something like that. Combat. Yeah, I just don't enjoy these days, like the 18th and the 19th. So yeah, but other than that, 16th and the 17th, planning, protection, contracts, agreeing, all of these things. Then on the 18th and the 19th, it just becomes unsettling. So for now, let me stop, and I will chat to you soon. Maybe not so soon, right? Because we will be launching the course, but I'll chat to you soon. Thank you. Happy and ciao.